Hello ladies and gentlemen, and my name is Nag the Hero, back again with another video. And today I would like to talk about a topic that I've discussed with a friend of mine, and that's the scenario on if Spider-Man had to deal with Batman's rogue gallery instead of his own usual villains. How would he be able to perform? So, just to lay down some ground rules for the scenario, Batman's rogue gallery is transported into the Marvel world, and their memories of Batman is replaced with the memories of Spider-Man. So Joker has the same drive for Spider-Man that he would for Batman, but none of them would know Spider-Man's identities, however. This scenario is also going to assume that no other heroes outside of the Spider family can help Spider-Man in this. And with these rules out of the way, let's get right into the video. To get things started off with the scenario, I would just like to say that Spider-Man in an actual confrontational fight with any of the villains I'm going to be talking about in this video would absolutely demolish any of them. There is just no possible way that they can even come close to the strength and speed and durability that Spider-Man has. And I would like to talk about like a couple of these villains before I move on to the ones that I'm just putting major focus on today. Killer Croc is completely getting necked by Spider-Man. Batman is capable of damaging him, beating him, easily outmaneuvering him. Spider-Man, with his Spidey sense, superior speed, and AP, was able to do the exact same thing with even greater results. Mr. Freeze isn't really doing anything as well, as Spider-Man has already completely tanked this beam from this type of being that instantly freezes a person. And even if he didn't, he also has his intelligence that also allowed him to do things like build contraptions that counter the person who had the powers of Iceman and the Human Torch from Marvel. There's just no possible way that Mr. Freeze is just going to neg Spider-Man. Not to mention that with his Spidey sense, he will also dodge it before Mr. Freeze even knew what was going on. He would easily just get nagged. And if you would like to go over how overpowered Spider-Man is compared to the DC Street tiers, I would recommend that you check out my friend Dio's channel. He has a video with a doc in it that goes over how powerful Spider-Man is and how ridiculous he is for the DC Street tiers. It's just not a competition at all in pure power and strength, but thankfully for most of the DC Street tiers, they rely on other means in order to combat Batman with their intellect, with their analysis, with their brains, instead of an actual confrontational fight with Batman, and in this case with Spider-Man. So with that out of the way, let's move into the first person that I would like to talk about, and that will be Victor. Victor in the Batman mythos is a person that rarely any people really talk about, and that's due to the fact that he's more or less like a C-tier Batman villain. He doesn't get a lot of focus, and that's because there's just not a lot to him. He doesn't really have any interesting powers or abilities, and his relationship with Batman isn't something like Bane and Batman, Joker and Batman. But there is a reason why I want to talk about him versus Spidey, and that is if Victor was released on the streets of Manhattan and he's a serial killer, he would be killing people at random. Would Spider-Man be able to successfully capture Victor? Because the difficult thing about Victor is that he kills completely at random and he is incredibly unpredictable. Whereas somebody like Batman, who is a master detective, cannot even begin to find any type of connection between him and his killings. And thanks to his masterful escape tactics, and thanks to him being able to use his stealth, he always manages to slip away at any time, so nobody can ever successfully capture him. And the only way that Batman was even able to capture Victor in one of his storylines was because Victor did not successfully kill Alfred, and Batman had to forcibly use Alfred as sort of a lure just so Victor could come to him, so Batman could, catch him. And that was the reason why Victor eventually lost, because Batman chased him down and easily beat him. Now, how would Spider-Man deal with this? He has like maybe a couple of ways to do it, and one of them is the luck. If Spider-Man manages to catch Victor in the act of killing somebody, even with Victor's like masterful like escape tactics and his stealth, Spider-Man could use one of his spider machines or spider trackers on him to track Victor, always know where Victor's at, easily come to him and just surprise him and catch him. And I'm not saying luck as something that's like, oh, like I'm just giving Spider-Man like free stuff, but luck is like a genuinely like good thing because Victor has been known to just like completely take kids like at hostage in broad daylight. He kills in broad daylight. It's just completely random. Spider-Man could easily like see him kill somebody in broad daylight or like come across him while he's doing one of his crimes, and once he places a spider tracker on him, then he's completely done for and he's just going to be sent completely to jail. It's over for Victor. And just really nothing else to this scenario except for the fact that if Spider-Man were to try to like use any other way to find Victor that doesn't have anything to do with technology, like if Spider-Man tried to use his like deductive skills, then he would be completely unsuccessful at trying to find Victor whatsoever. Victor would easily be able to just get out of his radius and just keep killing randomly in another place. But with Victor out of the way, let's talk about our next Batman villain that I would like to talk about, and that would be Bane. Bane for Batman has always been one of the most deadliest foes for the Batman. He's been able to challenge the Batman physically, spiritually, mentally, in every way, pushing him to the brink to become better and to become stronger from his defeats from Bane. A perfect example would be in the city of Bane, where Bane completely took over Gotham City and kicked the Bat family out of Gotham and completely exiled Batman, forcing him to train, get stronger, and come back and fight Bane for the city. The way that I would see Bane continue with Spider-Man is the fact that Bane would easily be able to find out Spider-Man's identity, that being Peter Parker. And the way that he would do this is just by using his superior intelligence, because Spider-Man's identity isn't something that's completely safe-proof in terms of people finding out the identity. It's not like it's guarded like the lost city of Atlantis. I don't think Bane would have any problems making any deductions between Peter Parker and Spider-Man if he were to ever look into Peter Parker. And with that out of the way that I would see Bane combating Spider-Man, and one of his most fatal mistakes in trying to fight Spider-Man would be that he would use his family and loved ones, Aunt May and MJ, to try to get over Spider-Man in that aspect, because Bane isn't stupid. He's going to do his homework on Spider-Man, and he's going to know that he's completely outclassed physically from him. But if Bane were to try to capture and use Aunt May and Mary Jane as a hostage, that would be his undoing, because Spider-Man is just going to become incredibly bloodlusted and incredibly angry, and he's going to use every single means possible to make sure that he gets Aunt May back, even if it's at the cost of destruction and carnage everywhere. I can easily see Spider-Man using the help of the other Spider family, using his intellect by making gear and other types of contraptions to find Aunt May, safely get to her, and as soon as Bane is with him and he knows that Aunt May and Mary Jane are safe, he is going to whoop Bane so hard that Bane is never going to recover from it, and he is going to make sure that Bane never walks again in his entire life. So I actually do see Spider-Man just beating and countering Bane, honestly. There's just no way that I can see Bane beating Spider-Man personally, and even in the battle of intelligence. So with Bane out of the way, let's move on to one of the most dangerous villains to Spider-Man that I'm going to be talking about today, and that is the Riddler. The Riddler is one of Batman's most underrated villains, just like Victor, which is such a shame because the Riddler is one of his most intelligent and ruthless villains in all of his rogue gallery. He's much more complex than somebody who gives Batman riddles just so he can solve them to beat himself up with. No, he's completely outclassed Batman, and I would believe that he'll be able to do the same thing with Spider-Man. And that's because of the fact that in Batman's second year of being Batman, back in the War of Jokes and Riddles, when the Riddler orchestrated an entire gang war with the Joker just so he could get the Joker to laugh. And in this war, he was clapping Batman and the Riddler in every single possible way. He orchestrated everything so that Batman could beat him because of Kite Man, which would cause the Joker to laugh, and the Joker didn't laugh, which was the only thing that the Riddler got wrong. Everything else was the Riddler playing the Joker and Batman on a violin, and there was nothing that either one of them could do to stop him. He had every single fail-safe, and he had every single advantage that against the Joker. There was just nothing that the Joker could even do. And the really important thing to mention is that the Riddler's riddles are much more complex than people give him credit for. Batman, with the Bat computer, couldn't solve one of the Riddler's riddles because it was a classical reference in a play that only Alfred knew. And his other riddles are also heavily referencing classical materials such as Shakespeare, etc. Spider-Man does not read those type of things, and if he does, I would like to see it, but he's not going to be able to solve the riddles because they're just too complex. And another thing about the Riddler is that if you ever see Peter Parker, he would instantly be able to tell that that's Spider-Man because he did the same thing with Batman. There is just no possible way that Peter is going to beat Riddler in terms of intellect. Like, let's put into context on how good Batman's crime-solving abilities are compared to Spider-Man's. Batman was able to solve a case that was beyond all human understanding back in the old days, and that is not even after all of Batman's adventures with the Justice League, where he fought conceptual beings, platonic conceptual beings, where he's fighting the unknown, the unnatural. Batman's just been able to solve cases in Gotham that nobody else has ever been able to solve before. And on a day-to-day basis, he's solving mysteries and he's solving cases and murders and accidents that the police have to rely on him on. Spider-Man, on the other hand, takes a different approach to crime in that he doesn't solve crime in the way that Batman does. And he's actually bad when he does try to do this. Like, let's put it this way, right? In the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, like, it came out in 2020, Spider-Man was trying to put the pieces together to solve this crime, but he completely missed the mark and he got it completely wrong whatsoever. And not to mention, he also rushed into a place that he had no information on, and he wasn't cautious at all. He blindly rushed into it and he got trapped easily despite his spidey sense. Spider-Man just isn't a very good person when it comes to prep and crime solving, which would let the Riddler completely play this man like a violin. There is just no possible way that Spider-Man is just going to get past the Riddler's intelligence. The Riddler is going to prep on Spider-Man. He's definitely going to figure out his identity, and he's going to do what he told Batman, and he's going to line up all of Spider-Man's relatives and loved ones, and he's going to shoot them one by one as he forces Spider-Man to watch while he's a safe distance away. There is just no possible way that Spider-Man is just going to outsmart the Riddler. I know some of you may be wondering, well, what about Spider-Man's gear? Is there any possible way that he could use his gear to beat the Riddler? And the answer to that would probably be no, most likely, because Spider-Man, if the Riddler in this scenario, right, is prepping on Spider-Man and he's doing everything in the background and Spider-Man's not even like realizing it, then he's just going to make sure that he beats Spider-Man in one foul swoop. That's just it. He's not giving any chances to Spider-Man to potentially resolve it by using gear or some other type of contraption. He's not letting him call the Spider Family. He's not letting him do anything. In fact, like, it's just going to be such an easy clap for the Riddler that he's just going to completely be above Spider-Man, that he's just going to leave Spider-Man as a broken man because he's probably going to kill the Spider-Man's relatives. Spider-Man's not going to be able to do nothing about it. It's just nothing he's just going to do about it. And he's going to like leave Manhattan, or he's just going to like stay in another part of Manhattan, and he's just going to be chilling. And there is just nothing that Spider-Man can do about it. The Riddler is probably going to move on to a person who's just way more intelligent than Spider-Man. I just don't see a way, or a logical way, that Spider-Man's just going to outsmart the Riddler. It's just not going to happen. So that's just a villain that I believe that would just be able to beat Spider-Man from Batman's Rogue Gallery. Finally, moving on to the last villain, and the most iconic Batman villain would be the Joker. The Joker is basically an amped up, more ruthless Riddler. Not only has the Joker been a match for Batman's intelligence on multiple occasions, he's also been able to outsmart him and play Batman like a fiddle as well. Look at the most recent event of Joker War, where he put the entirety of Gotham in an anarchy state with clowns running everywhere, killing everybody, causing mayhem, causing destruction, carnage. And he stole Bruce Wayne's fortune, and he left Batman with nothing. Batman had nothing at that point. I can definitely see Joker doing something like that to Peter. Like, if Peter doesn't encounter the Riddler, and we're just assuming he encountered the Joker, Joker is most likely going to hurt or kill his loved ones, to torture Spider-Man psychologically, and he's most likely going to put all of Manhattan into another Joker war, where he's going to use his social influencing skills to turn people into clowns and make them kill everybody, and make them turn other people into clowns and make them kill even more people. Spider-Man just can't fight all of that destruction and all of that mayhem by himself, even with the other Spider Family members, unless he uses his gear and intelligence to somehow counter that. But other than that, I don't see a logical way or how he's even going to catch the Joker, because the Joker has given the Batman and the other Bat Family members to slip so many times. He's just not going to let Spider-Man get close to him, because he knows the second he does, Peter's going to kill him. There's just no possible way that I can logically see Spider-Man catching the Joker like how Batman catches the Joker. Because the Joker is literally an amped up, more ruthless Riddler, and I already established that the Riddler is way smarter than Peter in terms of analysis, analytical ability, prediction, how far they think ahead. And the Joker has feats of, with prep time, being able to beat Lex Luthor. Granted, Joker did state that Lex Luthor let him free a little too easily, but there's still no reason to why Lex Luthor's defense system got beaten that badly by the Riddler. Gear to the Joker is a non-factor. The Joker is completely going to just disable Peter's gear if Peter even tried using it. Now that we've talked about the villains that Spider-Man would be fighting in this scenario, my final verdict for Spider-Man would be that he would not be able to take down the Batman villains on a regular basis. Because here's the thing about the Batman villains, is that they can easily play the long game, and they will always come back with a burning fire for vengeance that is going to have them do things like this periodically. And I've already established that Batman's villains are just way more ruthless in how they do their crimes. Like, and let's put it like this, right? The city of Bane and the Joker War happened in a very relatively short period of time. They do things like this on a very week-to-week basis, full of things like Joker Wars, City of Banes, and other type of monstrosities. They don't stop and they keep going more and more and more. Spider-Man is going to lose his mind fighting these villains. And even if he doesn't, then they're just going to get bored with them, like with the Riddler or the Joker, and they're just going to end it. They're just going to kill his relatives. They're just going to mentally break down Spider-Man, and they're just going to move on to another villain. To another hero. Like, there's just no way that Spider-Man's just going to be able to take them down, take all of them down, right? And that's not even mentioning people like the Penguin or Two-Face or the Mafia members. Like, these are people that Spider-Man can't fight because they have money. And then we have people like Deathstroke, who has the best warriors in the world. So even if Spider-Man stops him, he's just gonna come back and start assassinating people. Hugo Strange, he uses social influencing to convince people that he's a good person now. Black Mask is one of the best underground financiers of all time. There's just no possible way that Peter can completely take down these villains because they can just come back easily. And most of the villains that Batman fights are just able to use their influence and money to easily get back in the playing field. There's just no way that Spider-Man's just gonna be able to take them all down. There's just no way. But with that out of the way, guys, I'd like to say thank you for sticking around this long, watching this video. If you like this video, I would like you to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I really appreciate you for supporting the channel. But with that out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and take my leave. Thanks for watching.